Hi, everybody, and welcome to Open Mic Marketing with Liz Scott. Glad that you could join us today. This is actually our sixth call, and I'm just loving the way these are going. So I'm super happy about all the questions that I'm getting. So while we're waiting for everybody to join the call, let me just go through how we run these sessions for those of you who haven't sat in on them before. So there's a couple of ways that I can answer your questions. You can actually raise your hand and you can ask your question live, and then I will answer it directly for you. Or if you're feeling a little bit more shy, you can type your question into the chat box and I can answer it that way. And also, we've got questions that have been sent in to me. So what's been happening is we do these open mic marketing sessions once a month, and people have started to email me with their questions that I will read out anonymously and answer those as well. So before we jump in, let me just give you a little bit of background about who I am and why you might want to listen to what it is that I have to say. So I spent 25 years as a marketing and sales vice president in the high-tech and telecommunications space, where I had the great fortune of working for some Fortune 500 companies, as well as some startup organizations, and had a great career in corporate and decided that I wanted to move on and do some other things. So went back to school and became a certified International Coaching Federation certified business coach. And so for the last 4 years, I have been working as a business growth guru, helping entrepreneurs and small business owners across North America grow their businesses. Because what I find is that a lot of people are amazing at what they do and they're passionate about it and they're great at it, but they really struggle with the sales and marketing strategies and system piece of it. So I'm also an international speaker, best-selling author, and I'm the founder of the Women's Entrepreneurial Network North. And I run these open mic marketing sessions really for the entrepreneurial and small business community to have the capability of asking questions, obviously, and getting them answered. Because if I can almost guarantee you that if you're asking a question, somebody else is thinking of the question. So this is just a great forum to get a taste of who I am and what I'm all about, but also to get some great information for your business. So we're going to jump into some of the questions that folks emailed me shortly. I did want to let everyone know on the call that I am hosting a free webinar on May 24th at noon Eastern Standard Time, and it's called Simple Selling on Steroids, Sell More, Close More. So if you go to my Facebook business page, which is Affinity Coach, AFFINITY Coach, the link is there. Or if you want to just email me directly, which is lscott@affinitycoach.com. So lscott@affinitycoach.com. I will send you the link and you can sign up for my upcoming webinar. Okay, so let's jump into the very first question that I was emailed, which is, hi Liz, I really want to get out there more and do some more public speaking and get some talks. How do I do this and what's the best way to get speaking gigs? Okay, so that's a great question, and let me just say public speaking is one of the best ways to get clients and to establish yourself as an industry thought leader, and also to really speed up the process of know, like, and trust. So people really want to know what you're all about, and doing a speaking gig is a great way to expose your audience to, who you are and what you're all about and what your personality is. So there's a number of different ways that you can go about getting speaking gigs. I mean, obviously you can Google call for speakers and you can formally apply to get a speaking slot. I highly recommend that if you want to become a speaker, that you create a speaker sheet that sort of outlines who you are, what you're all about, and you go ahead and create some of the topics that you will be speaking on. And if you are interested in a template, I'm happy to send that to you. Again, just email me and let me know what you're looking for. But the best way, if you're just starting out on the speaking circuit, is to just ask people if they know of anybody who is looking for somebody to speak, because there's always people who are looking for someone to speak. And also meetup.com. So there's a number of different meetup groups. So basically you want to just look for who's your target audience, and then look for a meetup group, and then get in touch with the organizer of the meetup group and introduce yourself, talk a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then gradually work your way into, would you be able to get a speaking slot within their group? I love the speakers at Meetup if you're just starting out, because typically the groups run between sort of 20 to 40 people, and it's a great way for you to get your feet wet. If you've been on the speaking circuit quite a while, but it sounds like maybe this person has not, then yeah, just ask people, everybody you know who's in your target audience, or alternatively, you could create an event yourself, but I don't recommend that for early stage entrepreneurs. I really recommend that for people who are a bit more seasoned. But great question, thank you. It is an excellent way, as I said, to build up your know, like, and trust factor. So let me just go to see if anybody has any questions in the chat box, which I don't see yet, or if anybody has a raised hand, which I also don't see. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to keep going with the next question, which is... Hi, Liz. I'm thinking of opening a new business as a spiritual coach, but I'm not really sure that I can make any money doing it. I've been doing this a lot, but not charging for my services. How do I know if I can actually make money doing this? Okay, so again, another great question. And, I get this question a lot, not specifically towards spiritual coaching, but a lot of people who are thinking about starting a business, or they're in very, very early stage businesses, or as she said, people who have been doing things they love but not really charging for them. So how do you know if you can make any money doing it? Well, first of all, as with all things, you have to have market demand. So you have to know, research, find out, ask questions about the fact that there's an actual demand for what it is that you're planning on doing. Because I meet with lots and lots of entrepreneurs who have great ideas in their own mind, but the question is, are people actually willing to pay for what it is? Because just because you think it's a great idea doesn't necessarily mean that people are willing to pay for it. So that's the first recommendation that I would make. I happen to know that there is a market for spiritual coaching, life purpose coaching. I know a number of people, some of whom I personally have worked with, who have made successful businesses out of it. So I would say, number one, yes, you can. The second thing, though, is when people are starting a new business, I always ask them to do a mind, heart, wallet check. So check in your mind, is this something you really are passionate about, that you really, really want to spend your time doing, right? So mind, heart, is this heart-centered for you? Because you're going to be spending a ton of time working on your business. And then wallet, yeah, is this going to provide me with a living? Because there's lots of people who run part-time businesses, and that's great. If you're looking at doing this on a full-time basis, then you really need to understand what your target revenue is, and are you going to be able to make a living doing this? So again, for spiritual coaching, absolutely. And I would recommend, that you and I have a further conversation about that if you're really looking at how do I go ahead and monetize that. Because that's one of the areas that a lot of people fall down in that I do teach in my programs, which is how do you price, package, and leverage your services so that you are making enough money for a sustainable living. So that's a great question. Thank you. Okay, so the next one. Hi, Liz. I own a small service-based business, but I have two target markets. One is for small businesses, and the other is for working moms. How do I create messaging for both target markets, or do I need two completely different messages? Thanks, Chris. Okay, so Chris, this is an interesting question and one that I hear a lot. So it's very common for people to have two target markets based on what their products or services are. So what I recommend is that the core of your message be the same. So you want to always talk about in your messaging who is your target audience, right? So you want to name them. So in your case, you would say, if you are a busy working mom, or are you a small business owner? And then you want to talk about the problems that they have, which is ABC, right? So busy working moms probably don't have a lot of time. So you want to talk about what the problems are. They might feel like they're guilty because they're not, they're working and they're not spending enough time with their children, et cetera, et cetera. And then you want to talk about what is the absolute best result that you can get for them. And here's the thing. A lot of people will go right into their process. So they'll start talking about the mechanics of what it is that they offer. So I can give you A, I can give you B, I can give you C, but what they really want to know is what's in it for them. What result are you going to get for them? So I often use weight loss as an example. I mean, you don't necessarily want to talk about the process, but you do want to talk about the fact that they are going to ultimately lose weight. So my recommendation to answer your question would be that yes, you have two separate messages based on whether you're talking to your working moms or you're talking to your small businesses. And then be very aware of who it is that you're talking to and just plug in the appropriate message. And if you're talking about doing this on your website, you can just have two different tabs and do a drop down. Are you a small business owner? Yes. Are you a busy working mom? Yes. And then they'll go directly into what your messaging is for that. What you don't want to do is garble your message. So try to talk to both of those groups in the same sort of networking elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it, because their problems are going to be fundamentally different, I suspect, although you haven't told me in your email what your business is. But wherever appropriate, try to keep them separate. So hopefully that answers your question. And thank you, Chris, for submitting that. So the next question is, I want to hold a workshop to teach people how to communicate better with their spouses so that they can avoid separation or divorce. My problem is that I don't really know how to get people to come other than promoting on social media. Do you have any other suggestions for me? Thanks. Getting workshop a live, and I'm assuming you're talking about a live workshop, but it actually applies as well if you're doing a virtual webinar or a workshop. So getting people to attend is actually one of the biggest challenges when you're running a workshop. I see lots of people get super excited and put tons of work into it, and then they only have 4 or 5 people show up, and it doesn't really give them the results that they're looking for. So absolutely, social media is great for that kind of thing. Those of you who have heard me speak know that I'm very particular in terms of what social media is good for. Announcing events is great for social media. Also, you want to have it on your website, obviously. But the other way that you can really drive traffic to your workshops is to pick out people in your network that you know well and ask them to share it with their networks. So one of the biggest, fastest ways to grow your business and to get word out there for events that you're offering is just to reach out to people and ask them to share it with their networks. And of course, that's part of what you want to do too when you're trying to drive traffic to anything that you're hosting. So what's the example here? Okay, so people who are not really communicating well with their spouse, so then I would actually just reach out and say, you know, hey, I'm running this workshop. I'm looking for people who want better communication skills with their spouse. Could you share this with your network? And that's probably the fastest way for you to get word out there. You can offer your workshop for free. If you're charging for your workshop, you might want to do bring a friend for half price. That also encourages people to bring other people. There's a lot of strategies, and we don't have time to go into all of this right now. But yes, social media definitely, and it obviously encourages people to share. Social media video about what your workshop is going to be about is also a great way to impact the attendance level. And then don't always expect that you're going to get a massive turnout the first couple of times that you do things. So, you know, if you get 10, 15 people to your first workshop, that's fantastic. And then you want to build from there. So hopefully that answers your question. And let me again just go and see. Everybody's being really shy today. Nobody's typing anything in the chat box or raising their hand, so I guess you're all just listening intently. And it is funny to me how many people are emailing me, so I guess everybody's just really afraid to open up the microphone. Okay, so the next question comes from Jan, and she says, should I create a mission statement for my business? I'm only one person shop right now, so does this make any sense for me, or should I wait until I get a bit bigger? Great question. So, you know, my personal philosophy is that whenever you start a business, and, you know, I really don't care whether you call it a mission statement or a vision statement. Mission statement is a little bit more corporate oriented. Vision statement, I think, resonates better with entrepreneurs and small business owners. So the reason that I like you to, and even if you do it in just bullet points, the reason that I like you to put something down on paper is because it acts like an anchor for your business. What happens with a lot of small business owners and entrepreneurs is that they tend to get sidetracked. So we're all creative people, we love ideas, and we can go down the rabbit hole. So if you have a mission statement or a vision statement, as I said, it acts as an anchor. So what you want to do is just constantly check in and say, does that align with what I really want for my business? So if your mission statement says you want to have the absolute best customer service that you possibly can, then if you start to go down other roads where your customer service is starting to suffer, you come back to your vision statement which says, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come back and make sure that my customer service is the #1 priority. So it really just acts as a way to keep you focused. And, you know, I tell my clients, I love it if you just do your vision statement and post it wherever you sit in your office or wherever it is that you're working, so that it's a constant reminder of why you're doing what you're doing. Because that's the other thing, guys. Sometimes it's tough to be an entrepreneur. And you're going to have days where maybe you haven't made any sales, or maybe you've been, you know, turned down for a couple of things, or you're just not making the kind of money that you're looking for. So if you have a really upbeat vision statement, it can help to motivate you. So when you're creating that, I encourage you to use upbeat, positive words so that if you happen to be in one of those slumps, and by the way, we all hit them, that it pulls you back to what it is that you really want for your business. So to answer your question, does it make sense you're only a one-man business right now? I would say yes, because you know what? As you grow, you can adjust your vision statement, and in fact, you should adjust it. So I think it's really important to have a starting point, and then it also lets you know how am I tracking? If my vision is, ABC, am I tracking towards that? So part of my vision statement and mission statement is that I like to have fun with my clients. So if I find that we're all getting a little bit too serious, then I try to raise the energy level up a little bit. So thank you for that question. We haven't had that question before, so that's great. Okay, the next question comes from Bob, and he says, sometimes when I'm in a sales conversation, they say that they're going to sign up for my program, but then they don't do it. I follow up with them and I don't hear anything back, and I would like to know, what is this? Why is that happening? Did I miss something in my sales process? Please let me know. So I hear this a lot, by the way, and let me just say that this is a completely normal thing in business. You see it even more when you run your own business. So I'm going to answer this in two different ways. It's possible you've missed something in your sales process, and that could show up like you haven't pre-qualified them properly to say that they really do need your services, or you've hit an objection and you haven't really answered what it is that they wanted. So there's definitely some areas within your sales process that we could take a look at that maybe you could tighten up. And I would say probably 50% of the time, yes, you have missed something in your sales process. But the other side of it is, it's almost like a psychological thing with people where either they don't want to tell you the truth, or they don't want to acknowledge the truth themselves. So what do I mean by that? There are often times when people really cannot afford what it is that you're offering for whatever reason. And, it's not necessarily that they don't believe in your product, but at this point in time, they really can't afford it. So what it looks like is, rather than say, listen, you know what, I really can't afford it at this point, whether because they're embarrassed or they feel like they're rejecting you, they just won't respond, because then they don't have to deal with it. So they're not acknowledging that they don't have the money. They're not acknowledging that they might potentially hurt your feelings. They're just not dealing with it. So when people tell you, yeah, I'm definitely going to join up and I'm going to sign up for your program, and you follow up and you do everything you possibly can, and you're just not hearing from them, and you're not hearing from them, and you're not hearing from them, chances are that there's something else going on there. And so I don't necessarily recommend that you spend tons of time following up, because you've got to get rid of the fence sitters. You can't continuously chew up your sales energy by following up with people who, for whatever reason, are not responding. Keep them in your sales funnel. Put them in it. Put a note in to follow up in, 3 months, 4 months, whatever. Or send them one final email that says, hey, not really sure, if something's cropped up for you, but I would love to stay in touch. If something changes and you're ready to get back to me, please let me know. But here's the tricky part. It's very hard not to take this kind of thing personally. And I'm going to be really honest with you. This happens to me sometimes too, and I try not to take it personally, but sometimes you do. So what I would say to you is, if you find yourself on the other side, please be respectful of people's time. And if you can't afford it, or it's not the right time, or it's not the right fit, be honest with people and just say, you know what, this is not going to work for me right now. Because we as business owners have to spend our time where we're going to get the biggest bang for our buck. So my answer to that question is twofold. Yes, one, it's kind of human nature, and you're going to run into this more and more as a small business owner. But also, yeah, I mean, let's go back and do a checkup on your sales process and see if maybe there's some gaps where you could tighten some things up to increase your response level. Okay, so the next question. Hi Liz, I'm a nutritionist and I've been running my own business for about 6 months now. I don't know whether I should be specializing in a specific area or if I should just keep things general. I really can't afford to exclude any clients right now as I need as many as I can get. What do you recommend that I do? I get this question so much with new business owners. I have a lot of sales conversations with people. And it looks like people are very afraid to form a specific niche for their business because they think that if they keep things really general, that they're not going to be turning away any clients. But here's the thing. If you keep things very general, nobody knows who to refer to you. So at the beginning of your business, a lot of what you're going to get for clients is you're going to go to networking events, you're going to have referrals, you're going to have word of mouth. So if you're a nutritionist, I don't know who to send to you. I don't know whether to send somebody to you who is overweight, who has specific health concerns, who has hormonal issues, who is diabetic. So chances are for me, I'm less likely to have you pop into my head because, you know, there's a lot of nutritionists out there. So how do I differentiate you from the person that I met yesterday and the day before and the day before when I was out networking and you said, yeah, this week I've met 5 nutritionists. So if you say to me, hey, I'm a holistic nutritionist who specializes in working with people who have diabetes so that they can reduce their weight and their pain and their mobility, et cetera, now I know exactly when I meet somebody who I refer you to. Now, having said that, if somebody comes into me who really is just looking for weight loss, that's great. Of course I'm going to take them. I need clients. But it's about how do you position yourself initially to attract your core audience. And then, of course, yes, you can bring other clients in whenever you want. But the key thing is people need to understand who exactly is your audience. Who should people be talking to you about? Because if you're just random generic, there's a ton of random generic people out there. We have to really, and I run a whole program called What's Your Wow, but we really need to stand out in people's minds, particularly now in the world of the internet where people can get so much information. What sets us apart? What makes us different? So yes, I would suggest that as a nutritionist, because there's so many, that you talk about what you specialize in. And then if you pull in other clients, that's amazing. But you know, you got to put a stake in the ground. You got to talk about what it is that sets you apart, right? I like to use the example all the time of toothpaste. There's a whole shelf at Walmart of different kinds of toothpastes. So if you just say, hey, I need toothpaste, well, what does that mean? Is it fluoride toothpaste, whitening toothpaste, tartar buildup toothpaste? I mean, even toothpaste specializes. What flavor is it? So I like to use that example so people realize, yeah, okay, you know what? It's not good enough to just say I'm a generic this. I need to understand what it is that is my specialty. So thank you, everybody. We have lots more questions, but we have no more time. So what I'm going to do is carry these over for next month. I'm so happy that you could be with me today. I highly encourage you, as I said, if I've talked about anything today that resonates with you, please reach out to me. I do offer always for my open mic marketing folks a complimentary business growth strategy session where we spend 45 minutes really just going through your business and what your plans are and what your vision is and some things that are working really well and some things that maybe aren't. So if you're interested in having a complimentary strategy session with me, then please reach out to me and let me know. And thank you so much for joining. And I will see everybody next month. Take care. All the best.